Hello everybody, my name is Kev, and I'm here to tell you some of my advice and recommendations on beating the Drex boss in Jurassic Blocky. Now, as you may know, the Drex boss was an update with Jurassic Blocky in the Rebirth Part 1 update. The features that came with this is also the Drex boss itself, and how you can get some rewards from beating it no matter what place you're in. Here is a loot table. As you see, first place you get the requirement for the Drex, which will allow you to obviously purchase it. Second to fifth place, you have a 65% chance of getting a skin, or you have a 35% chance of getting some coins, and it's around 1,000 averages. But if you're under fifth place, you still get 650 coins. Now this doesn't seem great, but it's still useful, because coins are coins, and this can be very handy for beginners. Now, honestly, people are still struggling with this, so I've got some tips and tricks for myself that you guys can use to hopefully help you with this. I put 3 categories, and then I got tips and tricks and a small diagram at the end. I've got the beginner, intermediate, and expert category. These will ensure, hopefully, that each player, no matter where they are, can get some advice on how to beat the boss. Without further ado, let's begin with the beginner. Now, beginner category. I've chosen 3 dinosaurs that can be somewhat handy for the boss. These are the Raptor, the Gallimimus, and the Eutyrannus. Now, the Gallimimus is your starter. Raptor is a cheap dinosaur, and Eutyrannus is a bit more of an expensive dinosaur for a beginner, but it's still achievable. Now, why did I choose these dinosaurs? Well, the Raptor, in my opinion, is the best here, but Gallimimus is a good alternative. The Raptor and Gallimimus are both small, fast creatures that can easily hit and run from the Drex. Now this ensures some slow damage. However, you can get lots of these attacks in and basically always avoid the Drex boss and basically never get hit. This can be really useful if you're not really the best at fighting, because only the intermediate and expert dinosaurs I've recommended, you need to have some skill with them, because if you don't, then you're just going to likely die. But with these, you can also get lots of hits in. You can just run towards the boss, hit, and run away once he's about to do an attack. Now, honestly, you're not guaranteed to win with any of these dinosaurs, and it's going to be pretty hard to do so. But if you can get high enough, like 3rd place, like what I did with Raptor before, you can get some good coins and then be able to purchase an intermediate dinosaur. And you can also learn how to play the game a bit more and how to use the dinosaur itself and learn a bit more about it. Let's move on to the intermediate, shall we? Now, the intermediate dinosaurs are more stronger, but also a bit more slower dinosaurs. Now, I've chosen 3 dinosaurs, though 2 of them I've actually had a bit of experience with, while the 3rd one I've seen someone play as, and I haven't played as myself, but I've tested a bit and it does seem pretty good. Now, the 3 dinosaurs that I've chosen are the Carnotaurus, the Suchomimus, and the Therizinosaurus. Now, the Carnotaurus is your fast dinosaur here, and has the good damage, but also the range is alright, but the speed is what helps it the most. These 3 dinosaurs all have like their own class basically. Carnotaurus is your fast one, Suchomimus is your one with the range, and Therizinosaurus is the one with good attack speed. Now, I've had experience using Carnotaurus and Suchomimus, but I've not used Therizinosaurus yet. Though, I've had some combat outside of the boss, and it seems pretty good in my opinion. Carnotaurus is the one where you'll have the fast speeds and you can quickly hit and run from the Drex boss. However, the 3rd attack, I don't see being that useful unless the Drex is not locked on to you. Suchomimus is the one with the good range. You can easily hit the Drex from quite a bit farther away, and it's also got good speed, so you can easily outrun the roar or slam. And then Therizinosaurus is basically the mix. It's got good speed and has good range as well, but it's also got pretty good health as well. Health is its worst issue though, but that's basically the same with the other 2. Now, I would recommend Carnotaurus or Therizinosaurus the most. I don't see Suchomimus being the best out of these, but if you're good at it, then definitely use it. But all of these dinosaurs here are good enough for the boss, and they'll be very handy in order to grind for the expert dinosaurs. Not to mention that if you're better at using these dinosaurs than the beginner dinosaurs or the expert dinosaurs I suggest, then definitely remain using these. Do not change to something that you're not experienced using, because that will only make it harder to get a 1st place or just a high rank on the leaderboard in general. Now, let's move on to the expert dinosaurs. For the expert category, I have 2 dinosaurs in mind. These are your strong, slow dinosaurs that will take a lot of damage to the boss, and it can also take lots of hits. The two dinosaurs I have chosen are the T-Rex and the Indominus Rex. As you can see, I don't have the Indom unlocked, but the amount of times I've seen people use it, and how they've gone first place, it is insane. T-Rex is also a very good candidate. Now the Indominus Rex is probably your best option that you have, but honestly not everyone has it because it costs a lot of coins. But if you don't have the Indominus Rex, the Drex is the best alternative in my opinion. I've used it many times against the boss, and I've gotten good results. Many times I've gone in the 2 to 5th place, I've gone first place a couple of times. Now the T-Rex and the Indominus Rex both have really good damage, but the T-Rex I think is better with the high damage that it produces, whereas the Indominus Rex is better with the DPS and the range that it has. Indominus Rex is honestly better because it has around similar damage, has good range, and has good speed. So you can easily do good damage to the T-Rex and run away from anything that may be a threat to you. But T-Rex is also very similar. It's also got good speed, while not as fast, it's still pretty fast and can help you get out of situations, and also has the good damage as well to deal lots to the T-Rex boss and get you high up on the leaderboard. Now, there are 4 other options that I put in an extra option category, which I've seen people using, but I personally think that they're not as good. These 4 dinosaurs being the Giganotosaurus, the Spinosaurus, the Triceratops, and the Tarbosaurus. I've seen these dinosaurs been used quite a bit, and I've tried them out all myself, except for the Trike, because I haven't bought it because I don't see it being as useful as the T-Rex, but it's still really good, and I might buy it one day. Now the Giganotosaurus I think is very overrated for the T-Rex boss. It's got good damage, don't get me wrong, but T-Rex has very similar damage as well, if not better. The Giganotosaurus is also really slow, so you could easily get hit by the T-Rex boss and you are always vulnerable basically. And not to mention, its stamina isn't the greatest, because in my opinion, if you're going to be hitting the boss, you always need to be walking behind its tail. And if the Giganotosaurus, you are more than likely going to need to sprint most of the time when fighting the boss, which will reduce your stamina, and when the T-Rex does its slam or the roar attack, you are very vulnerable to that. The Spinosaurus, a very good option in my opinion, but I prefer the T-Rex. Spinosaurus is very good. While not having as much damage, it's got good speed and the range is very useful. Third attack is probably the main issue, however, because when you're doing that slam attack, you can be kind of vulnerable to the T-Rex if it locks onto you. Not to mention, it gets you really close to the T-Rex, which can get you in risky scenarios. I personally like the Spinosaurus. I think it's a very good option, but I think the T-Rex is just a bit better, just because of its good speed and how it doesn't sacrifice itself into the T-Rex, has good damage as well. Now, the Triceratops, I don't have it currently, but I did have it before that one refresh of the entire game, and it's got good stats. It's basically similar to the T-Rex. However, it's slower, which makes it more vulnerable, and I just prefer the T-Rex just because of the fact that the T-Rex doesn't have to stomp during an attack, other than that stomp, but with the stomp, it's got good range, and you can easily turn away when you're doing it. Now the Triceratops, I think you could probably do the same with, and I don't see it as a bad option. I see this as an extra option if you don't have the T-Rex, or if you're better at using these dinosaurs than the T-Rex or Indo. The final option I see is the worst in my opinion. Tarbosaurus I have tried in the boss fight, and it did not go that well. Honestly, if you're good at using Tarbosaurus, then use it. But Tarbosaurus honestly is good, because its health isn't as great, and its damage isn't as great as T-Rex, Spino, or Giga, and also the third attack really sucks in my opinion, because that tail slap, it'll make you go forward into the T-Rex, and not to mention does another bite attack going forward yet again, makes you really vulnerable to the T-Rex in my opinion. When I've tried Tarbo, I haven't had really the best results. I've gone in the top 5th, I think, with it, but I think with T-Rex or the other 3 options here, you'll have better results rather than the Tarbosaurus. Now that's honestly not saying the Tarbosaurus is horrible. It's still a good dinosaur to use against the boss. But I think the other 3 options, or the Indominus, are much better and will help you get better results in my opinion. Now, I have some tips and tricks that I want to tell you guys that can help you hopefully with the boss fight, and I think can be pretty handy if you're confused what to do or if you're still struggling on the boss fight. Well, without further ado, let's get into the tips and tricks. Now, tips and tricks, these are what I would recommend for people who are doing the boss fight. I've done it a couple times, and I think these are some of the best tricks and tips in my opinion. Now honestly, if you have any of your own, please inform me, and inform others if you can, because honestly, we all want to work together. We want everyone to get the best results. We want everyone to grind with each other and have someone they want to get, or just have fun in general. Now, my tips are how you should be doing hit and runs. Never brute force a boss fight unless it is really close to dying. That's the only time I would recommend to do brute force and just don't run away basically. The next tip is when you're around a quarter of your health, just run to the side and heal up. It's not worth fighting the boss until death, because when you die you're going to have to run all the way back. It's going to be annoying and you're going to lose a percentage thing. You may think, oh, but if I run to the side then I'm not going to get as much damage dealt. Well, you'll still be alive. Next tip is you should always be walking when you're hitting the boss. This is so you can save your stamina and not go to zero, because once he does a roar or a stomp and you have no stamina, that is when you're done for basically, especially with the roar. You should always be staying near the tail and attacking tail, because that's the weakest part of the boss, and that will ensure you the most damage for that leaderboard. You should always be slapping the head and turning away instantly against the boss if it's locked onto you. This will help you prevent being hit from the boss, and also help with just getting some extra damage in while it's following you. And the final tip, use someone you're familiar with. Don't use someone you've never played with in your life, because you'll be confused and it's just gonna be a mess. Because personally, I thought that a different dinosaur would be good for the fight. I tried it, never really got used to it. I didn't do so well. I used someone else that I did better with and actually played before with, and I got better results. This is what you should be doing. Now, I would recommend all these tips and tricks in my opinion, but honestly, if you have any of your own, use those if they help you. But these are what I would tell you in order what could be useful. Now, I have a little diagram for people that may get a little bit confused still. Now, the diagram isn't the best, but I tried, and it may look a bit confusing, but if you're able to understand it, that's perfect. It'll help a lot, I think. Maybe not a lot, but you know, it's whatever, I guess. But now, here is my diagram on how you should be finding the boss, and any little tips in there, they'll be there. Sorry if that diagram is confusing. If you didn't understand, I would recommend replaying it and slowing it down and reading the little tip thing to try and understand a bit better. But for now, that's all I have for today. I hope you all the best of luck in the Drex, and as per usual, have a great day, and goodbye.